What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Untouched Value podcast. I'm Beatsbyash, and I'm here with
CyTheSportsGuy.
And we're about to get into it to bring you consistent value every single episode, so make sure to smash the like button and turn post notifications on so you never miss another banger. Let's get right into it, man. All right, so I know last weekend you went out to the OU spring game.
Yep.
And you got some footage of the Heisman trophy. Came out with a little video on that. How's that going?
It's pretty good, man. I got a little over 1,000 views now. My plan originally was to do kind of like a vlog, but they didn't let me bring my bag in, so I was like, okay, let me just get some cool shots of Heisman Park, all the statues of all the old Heisman winners.
Wait, so why didn't they let you bring your bag in?
They have a clear bag policy, but it doesn't include backpacks, and I had a clear backpack. But it was kind of ironic because I saw this girl walking right next to me.
Yeah.
With a clear purse. I was like, what's the difference, dude? They're both 2 straps and a clear bag, but it's all good. The video did well for my first longer form video, because as of right now I've just been sticking to shorts.
Yes, sir.
But
shorts are the way. If you're not making short form content, you're not making it 2023.
that's absolutely right, bro. And I mean, honestly, I think that's just the way that you should start, honestly, is with shorts, because you're gonna get a nice little fan base, and YouTube is going to tell you, you're going to get a very good parameter right away. Okay, am I doing really good right now, or am I doing really bad? Sometimes there's a luck of element to it, like people just randomly just want to watch that video. But I think some of it is you're getting instant feedback pretty quick. Whereas sometimes you'll post a regular video and it could just pop off later on, or, I don't know.
Honestly,
I could be wrong.
I would say that the biggest advantage of shorts is that shorts just give you a higher benefit when it comes to current events in the algorithm. Just because of the way that they're promoted, you'll see a lot of shorts, at least from what I get, sometimes I'll be shown shorts about current UFC fights or sports events going on, and it doesn't even have that many views. But whereas videos, it feels like I'm only shown long form videos of people who are actually number one, being consistent, and number two, have a high number of subscribers. And I actually kind of figured out a little bit more about that. So I know one thing that's very interesting about the way that the new algorithm works, because if you have been living under a rock, basically the new executive team that took over YouTube changed the algorithm, and now it's less about how many subscribers you have, and it's a bigger emphasis on how new your account is, which is very interesting. And I saw a couple people talking about this. That's why I told you to create a brand new YouTube account and not use your old one.
Right.
Because some people told me basically, if you use an account that is brand new, you get promoted more easily, and you have a chance to blow up if you're super consistent, because basically they promote people who are okay, this person is new and they're coming out with videos over this new niche that's popping, whereas if you have an old count, it kind of puts you out of the way. I think that's really beneficial for the normal videos, because I just explained, the differences between promoting shorts and promoting the long form videos that. One thing I've noticed is I've tried to search for my channel, and I've had other people search for my channel, and some people have given me this feedback. In the beginning, when I had less subscribers, they were okay, I keep trying to search for your channel, but I get this other one, which I had an older YouTube account that I used to post on, and it was basically has 3 videos and super low subs, but for some reason my main YouTube was just shadow banned for so long, and you could only find that one even though I had 10 times the amount of subs on my new channel. And I've noticed that with shorts, that doesn't matter. You can be shown no matter what the parameters are, whereas if you're doing long form content, or just any type of videos that are on your own channel, not short space, since it's not in the feed, not the shorts feed, it doesn't get shown if your account doesn't have enough subscribers to be shown to everyone. I think that's very important.
Yeah, something I like about YouTube Shorts is, and it's a little bit different than TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
Is they just put the little subscribe button right there, and it kind of sticks out right next to your profile name as they're swiping through. So if they see something okay, that was kind of cool, let me go check it out.
Yeah.
because a lot of times people will just post these one-off videos, like that's their only video like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the lane I'm in, I'm doing a lot of sports stuff, just covering sports stories that maybe happened recently, some older stuff, but mainly current events. People can like click on my profile if they haven't subscribed yet. I'm like, oh, this guy's lit. Subscribe if they want to. But let's segue into a different topic. What is because this is more of a value type. We're talking about value exchange and stuff like that. What is something right now that you're like in the middle of learning, bro? Like, what's a lesson that you're getting taught right now?
Honestly, right now I'm really getting into crypto because like I'm kind of at one of those points where like I'm in between phases of like I'm trying to be as consistent as possible doing this stuff, but it's not really changing like the level of like responsibilities where I'm at, you know? It's not like the direction where my life is going is changing because I'm basically just waiting to graduate school right now. I have about 2 weeks until I graduate. Shout out to me for that. But basically like I wanted to get back into crypto because like in 2021, I tried to get into it. I invested like over $1,000 immediately. You know, I have a history of playing like, you know, competitive card games like across the country, like winning a lot. They started coming out with these games in crypto that are basically play to earn. And so what you do is you spend money to buy like a virtual like deck or like Pokemon or any, like I said, a team or something, whatever like is the best analogy I can give you. It's basically just like, you know, a character, anything that's going to start you off in the game. Then you can use that stuff that you bought to go against other people. And based on the amount of wins you get, you earn this crypto, which then can then be transferred over to the game that I was playing on was on the Ethereum blockchain. And in crypto, you know, there's two big coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the safest ones. So that's where all of like the games and the coins based on the games are on. So basically you would play, and if you beat other people, you would earn more cryptocurrency than other people. And then you could exchange that for Ethereum and you could exchange that for USD. And at this time, one of the biggest incentives of this game is basically you can only have one team going at a time. The game I was playing, it's called Axie Infinity, and it's basically like Pokemon, but all of the Pokemon you buy, they're on a marketplace and they're NFTs. So like I was researching all these teams, spending like 4 or 5 weeks because the team I wanted to invest in was like $1,000. And you can own as many of them as you want, but you can only use 3 personally.
So this is kind of like Ready Player One a little bit. Like,
yeah, but
it's a virtual like stock exchange, like game type thing.
Yeah, it's like imagine if you were playing like Madden Ultimate Team, but you got paid based on your winnings, like in a league or like any type of game like
actually
that.
paid.
Yeah, no, you actually, because
that's crazy.
You earn cryptocurrency, which then can be traded to USD. You know?
How would one get into that? Like, what's the like if someone wanted to get into that?
Well, let me get back to that. So basically, the way it worked is, basically what got me interested is so you can only have one team at a time. This one is specifically the first, like, this was the biggest play to earn game. Now, since then, there have been other games come out, but in this game, you can only have one team to yourself. Now, what you could do to bypass that to earn more crypto was you could have other people under you. And by doing this single-handedly increased the medium income of the average person in Thailand exponentially. Basically, you can have people under you. Let's say I essentially am leasing you a team because you're a kid in Thailand and you don't have $1,000 to buy into the game because you want to get a team that's competitive. Like you could get in at lesser amounts, but you're just not going to be able to earn at a high enough rate to where if you're trying to make it like a side hustle, it's more about just for fun, you know?
Yeah.
So what people will do who are like big whales and big advancers, it's called a scholarship. So I put you under me and all these like people in Thailand, because their currency is just like so much depreciated versus the dollar, they would be under you. Like I'd see them in all the comments under the influencers be like, can I get a scholarship? Can I get a scholarship? I have you playing with 3 and then I take a cut from the currency you earn. And the thing is, you can use the NFTs, but there's no way for you to steal them from me.
Okay,
so I can hire people across the world to just be under me. and they're just farming all day because their country sucks. They don't have any jobs, and it's actually helping them. This like doubled or tripled the median income of like college-age people in Thailand.
Wow.
And I don't now don't quote me on that because I don't know the exact figure, but it was something like that. Like it was changing people's lives.
So that's something that you could, like, if you're not in a position to like get the job that you want, you could hop into that little field, play games for people, or if you have the capital to spend, you could just start going crazy on it.
And that really interests me because, I have all this like experience playing like these high level card games. Even if you're like really good at poker or something like that, that translates really well into that, and because I have a mind where like I want to like win with this strategy in this game. It's like solving a puzzle. Since I play cards, I'm like, I want to win with this deck a bunch of times to where I've won so much to it, it's like solving a puzzle, that I make a new deck. And that was similarly to this game. So I'm researching all this stuff. What ends up happening is when you get into crypto, the way it works is you need to buy your crypto from a place like Coinbase, Kraken. There's a bunch of different ones like that. It's like a service, like an app on your phone. And so then you have the crypto on there. Number one, you have to wait like a certain amount of days or a week to get access to send that to a wallet. Now, what a wallet is, you can just save the crypto on that platform like Coinbase, for example, and you can just sell it whenever you want to get out. But a wallet is necessary for if I wanted to send the crypto to you. So like in order to get the currency in this game, you have to send the crypto to your wallet, and then you have to send it over to the game because there's a marketplace, and when you want to buy a Pokemon, it's someone like you listed it. Like let's say you played a bunch and you earned everything you want to do and you bought a better team. Well, now you could sell off your old team to someone like me on the marketplace, but the token, because that's what crypto is. It's a bunch of different tokens. That's what they're called. You got your Ethereum, your Bitcoin, and you got all these other like shady tokens. You got the ones like pretty much anybody who's just a novice, you're not going to mess with anything outside of Bitcoin or Ethereum. But the coins for this game are based on the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay.
So you buy Ethereum, transfer it to your wallet, which takes a period of time. On Coinbase, every time you transfer it, at the time I was using it, you had to wait 5 to 7 days for your Ethereum to transfer over to the wallet. And now that's super irritating because the market is super volatile. So like I estimated out like I wanted the specific team, and the going rate is like $1,000 in the market. So I deposit, $1,000 into my account. Well, then what happens is by the time I actually get to put it into my wallet, the price of that team changed, and I'm like, damn, I need to put in more money so I can afford this because I have this strategy planned out, but the specific team I want to use to like, pop off on the leaderboards. After a couple weeks having to, wait for my currency to transfer over to the wallet, I eventually got the money to purchase the team. And what I didn't realize is there's this thing called the bridge, and the bridge processes like the funds. Like it basically transfers the funds from like my wallet over into like the service. And it's not actually something that can be deposited into, like you can't deposit into the account.
Right.
So there was a pop-up on my screen. I had watched a bunch of videos previously before this where it would show you how to exactly complete the transfer so it goes into the, the account. Because I was like super scared about that. That's like a lot of money. This is my first time like messing with this stuff.
Yeah.
And I did everything they were telling me, but the game itself, they had an actual pop-up telling you to do something on your wallet, like how to transfer it over. And so I followed those instructions. Like, okay, do you want to transfer over? I'm like, sure. And it's affiliated. The game specifically recommends you to do this with your MetaMask, which is the wallet that I have to use. Just the name of the wallet. So I followed the pop-up, and I do what they're doing, and it basically sends my money to the bridge, and I deposited all my money into the bridge, which straight up screwed me. Because what happened is you're not actually able to deposit anything there. So I look at it, I'm like, wait, where's all my money? So over my like 1K, like $1,500, it's just gone. And I basically just can't get this back. And
so you took a little bit of an L. And this was recently, right?
That was 2 years ago. It was 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that really sucked because basically like, that was like all the money I was investing in, and I'm like, that was a setback, but I was in school.
I have a question. So, kind of to like start a different topic. What do you think? Like, why was crypto a necessity in the first place? Like, how did it just pop out of nowhere and become like this mainstream type of way to, store your money and like even expand your wealth?
Well, number one, you got to think that crypto for the longest time was not regulated, and in the same way, it's not even regulated to the same extent as US dollars now. Now, that's very important to note because you got to think about how many immigrant workers are in our country that may not be legal, or they are legal and they have, family in other countries. Well, what you would do in a normal circumstance, like historically, you would go to like a place like Western Union and you would send money back to your family. Now, the problem with that is there's a cap on how much money you can send at one time. You get taxed on sending the money to your family in Mexico. Then when they receive it, they get taxed again. Well, so if you have crypto, you can just go to a Bitcoin ATM and just straight up send that to your family. And like you pay like, a decent amount of fees on the ATM, but that's it, it's gone. Like that's not taxed and you're good to go. You're not limited on how much money you can send to your family, and that saves those people a ton of money.
So it's way easier to like exchange wealth internationally.
Yes.
Even like just in small amounts.
And it's not regulated. Right now with the banks going on and stuff, if you want to withdraw $10,000 from your bank account or you try to do a wire transfer, bro, they're going to do anything they can to put a hold on your money.
Right.
Like, because the banks are fucking scared. They got to go through the government to check that shit out. And same thing if you deposit more than $25,000, they're going to have to check a bunch of stuff and put your money on a delay.
Okay. What do you think about this? This is kind of what, like the analogy I came up in my head.
Yeah.
Not really an analogy, but like a different way to look at it. So for the longest time, currency was like physical, right?
Yeah.
And there was no way to really like dictate the value of that for the actual people. They're just told, okay, this is how much this is dollars worth.
Yeah.
Because, okay, that orange costs this much.
Yeah.
So they have a good idea of what their currency is worth. So cryptocurrency, kind of out of necessity, was like, okay, no, we're going to create like, or whoever did create it, or how was it like a bank that created cryptocurrency, or was it just
it was a small organization,
like a business, right?
It was like a small group of people in like 2009. I'm not sure about the logistics, but it was a small group of like unknown people.
And in a way, it's kind of like a stock, but it's still currency because you can exchange Bitcoin or Ethereum for certain items and like for cash itself.
Yeah.
So basically, it came out of necessity because there's with the inflation going on and how stock markets can fluctuate sometimes every decade or so. It came out of the blue, out of nowhere, kind of a necessity, for people that were scared of that kind of thing happening. That's kind of the way I've been thinking about it. Like, so, it's not actual paper currency. Like, the government doesn't have to give this to you. It's your option if you want to get into it and load up that way.
So from what I get, what you're saying is essentially like, you're saying the dollar originally has been difficult for the normal person to understand, like the actual like fluctuating value. Is that what you're getting?
It's just the person can't do anything about it. That's what you have to buy stuff, and they have no influence on how much that dollar costs or how much worth it has.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you're saying that they can, but it was difficult. But the thing is, for the long history of time, people were investing. That's when people would invest in like gold bars and stuff like that. People would invest in like assets like that.
Right. Okay.
Because that has a stable value. So the thing about crypto is like, the big thing right now, another reason why crypto is really good is because they're depreciating our money in the U.S. because they're printing so damn much of it. That's what's causing inflation.
Right.
Is they're just overprinting money.
Why are they overprinting it though? Like, what is the purpose?
Okay, well, that is another thing in itself, but it has to do with, like different factors in the world. Like, I don't know if you've heard anything about, like, there's a bunch of different countries that are getting together to try to create a new centralized currency, because for the longest time the like centralized currency in the world has been the dollar, and the other countries are trying to bring that down because like there's a bunch of factors. Like, number one, like Trump put like tariffs on the countries that were getting better trade deals with us, like China and stuff like that. So there's a certain amount of countries that have come together to create this new currency called BRICS, and China is one of them. And it's like a lot of like Asian countries, and basically they're all trying to unite to make this one currency their currency for all of their countries. Because like the pound isn't just used in the UK.
Right.
Like that's used in like multiple countries.
Right.
And basically, they're we're printing to compensate for them, and like vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay.
But also like the government is just doing. They want to mess with the market because certain people in the government are like anti-crypto, and they're just trying to crash certain things. Because I don't know if you know this, but they're currently working on a thing called USD coin, and that's going to be.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of people are going to be idiots, and they're going to buy into that, and it's going to end up screwing them. Because what's happened with the banks recently is it's like, I've heard this saying before: the money you have in the bank isn't how much you have. It's how much money the bank is willing to give to you. And that's a real thing,
For people that work really hard, have saved up a lot, they're just like, what? That's BS.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is in the next like 3 to 5 years, we're going to get our next stimulus check, and they're going to be like, okay, do you want to get the stimulus check in the mail in 4 weeks, or do you want to sign up with the app and you can get this USD coin? And that's when they're going to start being able to regulate your stuff. It's going to get to a point in time where they're going to be like, oh, sorry, you can only have this much amount of money.
Right.
And that's where the crypto is one of the only ways that you can have the opportunity to move your money at any time you want without having to wait on other things.
Here's what's crazy too, is if you talk to like any person that like is smart with finances, like Dave Ramsey, or you hear people talk about finances, they're like, you should never just keep cash.
Oh yeah, you know what's funny about that? All those people that tell you that are actually have money in crypto. All the people who tell you not to invest in crypto, they have crypto. These hedge fund managers, because in the current way that the government has structured it, I'm not exactly sure on the logistics, but basically hedge fund managers and people who are like financial advisors, they are not legally allowed to tell you to invest into crypto, because the way it's classified, like I think like it's classified as a security or it's not classified. I don't know like all the terms like that, so I don't want to say anything I don't know. But that's basically the gist of it. Is like you're not allowed to do that as like a hedge fund manager or like an advisor. But those people themselves, they're actually invested into it.
Right.
So if you're friends with someone like that and they're plugged in, like they're gonna tell you.
Something that I've always like thought about too is like, it seems like keeping your cash, like keeping your money in cash for the most part, is like a punishment in a way, because if it's just sitting there, every day it's depreciating at some rate, right? You would agree? If you just have cash sitting in a cabinet for 5 years.
You can say that, but at the same time, I get what you're saying, and that is fair to an extent, but not as much as you would say, because you got to think like back in the day, whenever our parents were in school, it used to be a thing where they could be like, okay, you can put all your money you're saving up in a savings account to pay for your kid to set them up with a college fund, because they'd actually be netting like interest that was actually of value. So now the interest on a savings account is literally almost nothing. And so for that reason, I would just argue that you're not really losing much having it just out as cash, because you're like essentially paying for that opportunity cost to be able to move your money around at any time. And if it's in cash and it's already been recorded, or you've already recorded all your taxes and stuff, like you don't have to do anything additional on your taxes, where like if you have like money in certain accounts and stuff, then the government can like track you and do stuff on an audit. That's where like the value of cash is, and the same way as crypto,
Right. So it basically, for how much ever it does depreciate, you're kind of just paying for the ability to be like, okay, I have this much cash, like I can just
and you got to think about that. Like if you have cash, like one thing I really recommend for people is if you can create a local opportunity for yourself, cash talk. So like for example, I recently got a bed on my truck, and I worked out a cash deal with the other person where I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you like $1,000 or something. And because of that, allegedly, I got a decreased price because there were no taxes, allegedly.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how everything works. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have a homie who does a service, and like if I wanted you to come work on my air conditioner and I have cash, that's gonna be more beneficial for you, and you're gonna pay it back to me.
that's the only way to keep things simple and clean. Like, well, I guess not clean allegedly, but basically cash takes out of all the fuss. Like the bank doesn't have to get involved. There's no loan, like, especially if it's a big purchase. It's just like, boom, transaction is immediately done.
Yeah.
Whereas like people are making payments on stuff and they're going through a loan, paying interest. It's also more of a hassle for the person that's selling the product.
Yeah.
So cash, okay. So that actually makes a lot of sense. I just learned something. Like when your cash is, I guess, depreciating in value, you're kind of paying for the ability to just be like, okay, I need it for this.
Yeah.
Very good words, dude. That's actually something I didn't think about.
Because you also got to think, like, even in like your situation, if I'm wanting you to work on my air conditioner, what if I was like, all right, bro, I'm gonna send you the invoice, and you don't even get paid for 60 days.
Right.
And you might need that money to like fuel your business. That's how a lot of services are going, and that's what one thing that people don't realize going forward. It's very much talked about, at least like, while I've been in college, is that whatever you're going into, it needs to be adaptable going forward, because you need to be able to change with how fast technology is changing, and that's where the value of these trade jobs is just going up.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, these trade jobs are pretty much the only thing that's always going to guarantee you these cash deals.
Yep. And it's just never like you're always gonna need trade workers.
No, exactly. You're
and-
always going to need someone to lay steel. You're always going to need someone, to work on air conditioners,
Plumbing.
to work on, like that stuff.
All of it.
People do not realize that is not going to be able to be replaced by like machines,
At all, really, at
'Cause
all.
if you got to come out to someone's house and assess what like the solution is, you can't do that with a computer.
At some point, maybe, but we're talking about like way down the road. You know what I'm saying?
Even then, you're still going to need a person who's going to come out and use the machine.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct. It can't just fix itself because of a robot. Also, to piggyback on what you were saying about how like cash can move freely and what the transaction is there, I've noticed that a lot of like smaller like businesses,
Yeah.
and this is kind of with everything. If you pay cash, like if I was to replace your air conditioner,
Yep.
to make it easier on me, especially if I'm not like licensed yet, like have my contractors, what a lot of these guys will do is they'll charge you like $10,000. Let's just say $10,000, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, hey, you pay cash, we can knock that down to 9.
Exactly.
So it's like that immediately, like customers like, wow, you can save me just for example $1,000. So like they're gonna find the cash. Like they'll go to the bank if they have to, and then that makes it to where a guy like a small business owner doesn't have to really. It can kind of just float under the table a little bit per se.
100%. I mean, you also got to think like when you're not paying in cash, sometimes that can take up your credit.
Right.
And you don't want to be taking up your credit, because then that can stop you from getting like loans, or it can stop you from getting like, a house, like different things. Like if you don't need to, there's no reason to, you know,
Right.
because like for a very good example of that is like a phone. So let's say you have the money to pay for a phone either way, but the guy that's selling it to you, and I know this because I sold phones for over 2 years. Basically, you'll get into these deals where they're like, okay, so if you sign up for this deal with us, I'll give you this phone, whatever phone you want, for free. And yeah, has someone ever offered you that, like at a store, like at the new iPhone or whatever? Like explain that to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been explained to me. Just recently, I got a new phone, and then like they'll have you on like the display on the wall, like free, 128 gigs, like iPhone,
Yeah.
whatever.
So a lot of people don't do a good way of explaining that, and that's why this is a really good analogy, because essentially what it does is I'm technically giving you the phone, but the way it's going to work out is, let's say it's over 2 years now. It used to be like you could get a 12-month, but now pretty much all the major characters are 24 months, and the way it works is I'll be like, okay, so you pay me for you pay me for the taxes. That's what the only thing you have to do is the taxes. What's going to happen is you're going to get the bill, and you're going to have to pay on the bill the first month and the second month what the actual payment would be. Now, on the third month, they're going to credit your bill for the 2 previous months. So you'll technically be getting that money back. And the reason they do that is to stop credit fraud, because you could come in with a false identification. And so that oftentimes is a way of them checking that you're using a real identity, because you actually have to have some money up front. So now when you get to that point, every month onward, they're going to be adding a credit to your account that will pay for that payment. Now, that's all fine, but the problem is, let's say you want to pay that off in full from that point. You're like, I have the money, I'm just going to get it done.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that because that's not the way the deal works. So
Right.
basically what happens is, if you decide that you wanted to pay the deal off, they're going to make you pay out the full amount of the phone, because they don't, the way they have it set up is they're giving you that credit on your account so that you will continue service with them for the full 2 years.
Right.
And so that's a good analogy for what we're talking about, because if you could pay cash and you had the money anyway, it would be better for you to do cash, because that's doing a hard credit check. That's going to tie up some of your credit in what's called, the debt to income ratio.
Right.
And as a younger person, that's probably going to be a larger portion of your credit history at that time. And it may just be, that may stop you from getting a credit card. And because you're new to credit, you have a low credit history,
Right.
that sucks.
Exactly. And I mean, for most young people that aren't owning a house and maybe multiple vehicles,
Yeah.
that's not probably a huge deal. But for someone that's older, 100%. I've even heard a guy even on a conversation with his banker, because he had just had vehicle troubles, and they weren't waiting for the insurance because they just needed a vehicle ASAP.
Yep.
And they couldn't quite get that deal worked out. And I had never heard of that even before.
Yep. And consider this. Let's say you're the head of the household and you have 4 lines on a family plan.
Right.
And you did that for all 4 of them. Now that's taking up a larger portion of your credit, because you've got 4 times the amount of lines, which is actually a decent amount of income, because it's all coming from your single income, even if other people are paying you money for it.
It's not cheap.
So you got to think about that.
Yep.
And also, you could get a cash discount from buying it from Apple directly. So that's why I always recommend to just pay cash if you can, because there are certain negatives to that. And for me, I'm on a plan with, I don't want to get too much in cell phones, but I'm on a plan with a family member. And so for a while, I've kind of wanted to be on a different plan, just alone, for personal reasons. And my phone had that credit on it, and I recently just got paid it off through that method. So now I own the phone outright, so that's cool.
Yep.
But I wouldn't normally. And
Exactly.
one last thing to touch on that is, during that period of time, you won't be able to take the phone to go to another carrier.
You're tied up. They lock you down as a customer.
Yeah.
That's their way of doing it.
Because let's say you have to move. Even though you might be able to afford it, you're just dang, I'm in a different area, and this area, the towers just don't work as efficient as another carrier, and that screws you up. And obviously that doesn't translate as well into other things, but that's just, my point is, there are several factors that come into the equation when you have to think about whether I should use credit or whether I should use cash.
Right.
Because cash is just such a high benefit, and when you have crypto can always become cash. And my main point about the crypto was whenever I got into it at that time and I lost the money, the price was, ETH was around $3,200. And whenever I just started buying ETH today, it was $1,800. So it was a 30% decrease, and a lot of intelligent people in the space have told me this is the best time to buy for the next couple years, because a lot of people get into it and they're I'm trying to make some flips and stuff, but I'm using it more as a savings account. That's where I'm comparing it to you with the government, and why I don't think it's good to have money in a savings account, because I'm putting the money in and I don't plan on removing it until a couple years down the road. And that's where I think it's so much better than actually being in the bank, because I can move it at any time, but the reality is I would prefer just to have it in there the whole time. And I'm not a person who knows a lot about crypto, but I do know that it was way higher before, and going forward we're going to be going into a new election with, I think that the new president is going to be Donald Trump, and regardless of whether you like him or not, he is going to increase the price of those cryptocurrencies because of the regulations that he's going to be not imposing on the space.
Right.
And so for me, it's just a no-brainer to get into that because we've seen that ETH all-time high can go way higher than what I had it at before. And I personally experienced, a higher volume. This is the lowest we've seen in a while. And so I'm like, okay, if I want to put money into my savings account, I'd rather put it into there because even if I get like a 5 to 10% yield, that's way higher than the interest on a savings account.
Right. I just had a thought hit me too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, basically this whole thought process came up when we were talking about like the market and like how things are paid for and bought. I just thought about this. Pretty much any like type of game, pretty much anything you pay for nowadays that's on your phone,
Yep.
software, app, anything that's like a transaction is usually a subscription now.
Yes, sir.
And I just thought about it. It's less of actually them wanting more money. I mean, that's obviously the root cause of it, but they're trying to lock you down as a customer.
Yep.
Because if there's competitors that offer the same service and are charging maybe like a same or around that price,
Yep.
if you've already paid for the subscription, they've already just knocked out the competitor. Like he already has our software.
I like where you're thinking.
Yep. So I think that's what the way a lot of the things in the market are going towards these days. Like whatever you do with your money, they're gonna try to make it harder on you to be as flexible as you can. Like your flexibility gets taken away whenever you kind of lock yourself into something like a contract.
Your purchasing power is removed.
Yep.
And just what you're saying, that's a very big point because I haven't even seen like a lot of like high level people in the techno or business space like talk about is that with a lot of these new structures for payments and services, it really lowers the barrier to new entrants for that company because like you're saying, you're locked up. And, we've been talking about how going forward, you need a job that's going to be adaptable with how things are going.
Yep.
Well, that just means that it's inevitable that someone's going to come in with a business plan that is more beneficial to yours and is creating a threat of substitutes, but you're locked in. So you can't even switch over to that,
Exactly.
that better alternative, even though it's becoming available very fast. And that adds value to the reason why services that are subscription based and online services in general being like, having no inventory attacks is one of the best strategies that you can use for creating like a career for yourself going forward.
Yep.
I think that e-commerce is honestly like not going to be that viable going forward just because it's so saturated. But where it's really at is if you can create a service that has no inventory, and because you have no inventory, you don't have to charge sales tax.
Right.
So that's really important because like for me, I essentially do these online consultations with people, and I'm just going to be taxed at the end of the year on my earnings. No, I'm not going to be having to charge the people additional money to pay for sales tax because it's just me doing a service for them.
Right. Okay.
That's very important.
Yeah, and I do think it's good in a way. I think it's good because you lose flexibility, but at the same time, the people that are offering these services and companies that are offering these services,
Yeah.
now they have more of a burden of performance. They actually have to like compete. Like they can't just put out a crappy, like back in the day, they just put out maybe a crappy game, and to really know how it played, you had to buy it. Where nowadays you just subscribe to maybe a service or whether it's a game or whatever it is. After a month, you're gonna know if you like it or not. So.
And you got to think about this. The way that games are being structured is it's all the free-to-play model with the in-game purchases. So if you want to make an actual like high revenue earning game, you need to actually put out high-level AAA content if you're going with the paid route. Like if you're trying to sell like a game where people pay $40 or $60 to buy the game, you need to be adding a lot of value, and you need to make sure that it's in the right market because people can just play stuff for free and they don't have to pay anything. We've seen that with Fortnite, man. Like so many people will be attracted to games where you can just play completely free. And the people who are actually good at managing money, they might not even give you any money at all.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I used to be heavily into games. I'm still into it, but like I prefer the cards because card games are physical, number one, which gets me off of screens, and number two, it forces me to go interact with other people.
Yeah.
But I understand why a lot of people like paying for skins in games because it creates that social like interaction where like you and me could be in an online party like talking to each other, and people who have busy schedules, that's like one of the only ways that they can conveniently like connect with friends that they no longer have like as much personal time with each other, which is very important when you get older. But like for me, when I spend money on a game like that, or when I did in the past, it wasn't because I wanted like, you know, the skin or something like that, like I was dying to have it. It's more about like I just recognized like, okay, if these people did a really good job and I think this game should have been worth $60 and it was for free, I will throw them $15 to $20. My rule is I will throw them up to the value of the $60 game, because I want to support the actual like creator. If I actually do, that's a good rule, because a lot of these games are super predatory in the way that they give you like dopamine increases from buying like certain in-app purchases, and that's very predatory to like kids or people who just have like addictive personalities.
It goes back to like the root of what drives the economy, and it's your neighbor basically. So anyone around you or in your social circle or your physical neighbor, right? If they have a really nice car, your wife's probably gonna get in your ear and be like, "Babe, let's get a new car." That type of deal. It's the same thing in a video game. If you're in a video game, someone has a really cool skin, or like in Madden, if someone bought the new Barry Sanders.
If everyone has the new battle pass, bro.
Exactly.
Think about that. You're playing with all your homies, and they're like, bro, like they're all skinned up with a new battle pass. You're like, damn, like
their character's fresh as hell, and you're just like Play-Doh, pretty much. Like you're just
and you're basically just like, bro, hey, you gotta get the battle pass, bro. We all got the pass, bro. Everybody, your friend just guilting you. The main rule for in-game purchases I highly recommend for anyone is don't let the amount of money that you plan on spending in the game exceed the total amount that you would feel comfortable paying for an actual physical game. If that's $40 for you, if that's $60 for you, you know, whatever it is, that should be your rule. Because anything past that is you just throwing away money that you could just be entertaining yourself with anything else. There's so many free games, so many free movies and like media that like you could just be stimulating yourself with so many other things, like past the point of like you just care about the like you like what the work the person did.
Nowadays I would say, like, especially if you have a lot to get done and you have goals, video games are kind of just an afterthought. Unless you are really good at managing your time. But we kind of went all over the place today. We talked about a lot of finance type stuff, crypto, why cash is important, a lot of things. I thought it was really good conversation, and I think it's very good for the viewers. Like, go do your own research on how money like works. Like, it's not just like, oh, I can use this to buy stuff.
Facts.
It's a lot more than that. Like,
that's 100%. And you know, like he touched on, that you shouldn't be playing video games. I think this really ties into that. Number one, I don't even really play video games anymore. I play competitive card games, and I make videos on that. So anytime I'm actually playing, it's to do a video now. Like, it has a purpose behind it, you know? And you need to think about that. What is the purpose behind that? If you can't hang out with a friend, and you get to talk to him in this one moment, then like, okay, it could be understandable in moderation. But if you're just broke as fuck and you could just be doing better things, that really should not be under your radar. And that goes for any kind of media. You know, a lot of people that I listen to, they pretty much just tell me that you should not be listening to any kind of fictional media or doing any like fictional games or things like that, you know, unless you're like already in the place you want to be and you're already like, you know, have developed to yourself. Like, some people say like get 100K a year, but whatever level you're trying to get at for like you to be fulfilled with, then you need to be at that level before you go into that stuff, because it just stops you from leveling up. And really, at our age, if you're in your late teens, early 20s, that's how I'm lapping a lot of you, because like I'm just managing my time so much more effectively. And that's a big component right now, because a lot of people, you know, they're like, damn, it's so difficult to make money. It's so difficult to do this with, you know, the changing technology.
You're making it hard on yourself. I mean, really, it's all it is. Like,
I would argue
it's time to grind.
This is the easiest time in the past 10 years, in the past 15 to 20 years, that it's been for people to get money, because
it's the easiest probably ever.
You gotta think
Unless
about,
you just had,
there are so many people who are lazy, who are gonna be watching this, and I hope it like change your life, but there's a lot of people who are just sitting there. They spend 3 to 5 hours a day scrolling on these social media apps, and you could have been making money. You could have been learning a skill, but all of that information you took in was also fictional. So it just didn't even go into the part of your brain where you save stuff. That's why, number one, if you're going to be listening to content like this, do something else, because we're actually adding value. But even when you're listening to us, I highly recommend, listening to this when you're working out, while you're working. Like if you're welding, you can be doing something like that. And something I just learned the other day, this guy was telling me because he was trying to, explain how he learned crypto very fast. And he was like, okay, so the way the brain works is you can listen to something educational that you're not the most excited about for about 3 hours. And at that point, then you're working your job, you listen to what you're getting value from for 3 hours, then you switch over to something fictional that you enjoy for 30 minutes, and it resets your brain. And this guy was explaining that allowed him to just, listen to beneficial content for about 10 hours a day. And that's something you should definitely, think about, because I definitely feel that I get burned out whenever I'm working on schoolwork that I don't necessarily want to do, but it's for my degree. And then I have to go into, editing these projects where I don't even necessarily like that part of the creation. I'm more about the recording and the producing. And it's doing those things back to back. You need to create an opportunity to reset things for yourself without putting yourself in a situation where you do it too long. That's why I don't like social media for that break, because then you just scroll. You don't even know how much time's passed.
Yeah.
And you're just building a bad habit.
Yep, I would say there's this book called The Dopamine Detox, and this is the whole premise of it. Try to be as productive as you can throughout your day, and when you want to have something fun to reset yourself, just make sure you've earned it. For example, when I'm at work, I'm working, so we're making money, we're doing what we got to do at work, but I'll have maybe a podcast in if we're doing a bigger job in my ear. And it'll be more kind of along the lines of what you were saying, more educational, or a Jordan Peterson, for example. He's preaching philosophy, that type of deal. And then after I get bored with that, I'll jump into a World War II documentary. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning either way. I'm not really, but I'm a little bit different than most people. I don't really care for fiction, honestly. Yeah. I'm into sports and history and that type of deal.
I mean, even sports can be put into that recreational fiction category. Cause
it definitely is.
In reality, sports are just not really a thing that you're getting value from. You know?
I agree. That's why when I'm watching my sports, or I'm scrolling through ESPN at the end of the day, I'm looking for story-worthy material so I can throw it in a short and
exactly
feed it to the people that may like sports, but they're just not crazy into it. I try to make it interesting for them. Throw cool little graphics at you guys, or bring up a cool little stat you haven't heard of. But yeah, basically the whole point of this podcast was kind of all over the place, but we're just talking about what you guys need to know about your money, managing time. Just, it's time to grind, guys. You're young, you're ready to go, dude. You gotta grind before it's too late, because when you're 35, a lot of this stuff we're saying is going to be a lot harder.
And do your own information. That's a big takeaway from today. A lot of the stuff that I talked about, I'm basically just gathering up all the information that I did additional research on, and, opening that to you guys' eyes, and as well CyTheSportsGuy here, because, a big part of this central idea of this series is that I want to make you guys think by giving you, information that causes you to come at things from a different angle. I'm not specifically telling you need to do this. This is the best thing to do, but I'm giving you a different perspective, and that's something that people are not doing,
Yep, exactly. That's why I'm me and him don't agree on everything, but I love to hear his points on stuff, just because it's different. I want to know where he's coming from. I think that's a big way to have probably the best way to have dialogue, is honestly just not try to be too agreeable with everybody, and just learn. True. Just learn from what people are saying, because we're still young guns. A lot of people are gonna probably make fun of us in the comments for just being retards or young and not having a whole lot yet, but hey, we're trying, bro, and we're gonna try to help you guys along the way.
Yes, sir.
It's 2023, bro. We're going up.
2023, it's unacceptable to be broke, not focused on your goals, and not on your grind set. Thank you so much for getting this far in the video. As always, make sure to smash the like button, turn post notifications on, let us know what you want to hear us talk about next, because we're only talking about the real deal, giving you guys information that you can actually put into work in your own lives. It's been a great one. Pleasure to see you.
Let's go, brother. It's a good
And
talk.
we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.